It's not too late to invest in Vechain. Here's why I feel it is still undervalued. So hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, make sure you've subscribed, click the bell button, leave a like and obviously a comment. Now, hope you're doing very, very well. It is Friday. We're talking about Vechain. Yes, I know in the comments you're probably going mental knowing that, oh my God, this is like all-time high levels. Yes, it is in USD due to Bitcoin, but it's actually undervalued in the BTC pair. It's nowhere near as high as it has been, so saving grace there. But we do need to talk about what it is, how it works, and supply chains are relatively big, and I think gonna be a growing industry in the blockchain space, and this is the dominant force. This is the leading currency for that. Got a lot of things going for it, as you well know. But I'm not a holder of Vechain, just to make that perfectly clear, so it's an unbiased kind of viewpoint, but I'm a big fan of it. I have held it in the past before, no longer hold it, but I do think that this is probably one of the most solid holds you could probably have in the space, given its use case. You know, for me, fundamentals are pretty good. So in terms of the basic infrastructure of it, right, we'll talk about coins. Obviously, there's 86 billion, quite a lot, I know, but there's quite a lot, but it's maximum. Cool, no more will be added. Circulating supply current 64.3 billion as well. Volumes relatively high, fully diluted, market cap, and ultimately the market of 5.3 billion. This industry alone, I'll talk about in a bit, is relatively big. You know, when we talk about it, more and more people will be using blockchain infrastructure to manage their supplies, their logistics, supply chain management, all kinds of. There's a lot of caveats to that, a lot. There's also a lot of partnerships with Vechain alone, so that's kind of important too. So in terms of the basic, what it is a powered by blockchain, essentially, supply chain platform. It began in 2015 and launched in 2016. Vechain aims to use distribution, governance, and Internet of Things, IoT technology, to create an ecosystem which solves some of the major problems with supply chain, which we all know. Paperwork, database, expense as well. There's all kinds of going on with it. So it is, you know, in my opinion, pretty much ready to go. It's fully building. It's just going to be one of those things that will just get bigger and better over time. Now, they also have their own infrastructure with another token, V4 token, which you can get via holding the token. So that will pay for the transactional fees, which is also very, very important in terms of how this blockchain will work. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into what it is and why I believe it, stuff like that, because you should be able to do your own research. But when we're looking at what it is and how it works, they've got their own foundation, they've got enterprise users and partnerships, they've got community investors, development startups, research partners, and institutional partners. There's a lot of partners in this, a lot of partners. There's some very, very well-known names as well you're probably well aware of who are involved in the Vechain project and the protocol. In terms of how to hold it, where to get involved, wallets down here, third party, okay. You've got the Vechain Explorer, and obviously, most importantly, the official wallets are here. So you can store it relatively straightforward if you're wondering. In terms of other things to go on, I'm just going to cover a little bit on this in terms of the build. As enterprise, obviously, you know, enterprise blockchains are somewhat getting more and more important. Now, you've got supply chain, vehicle passport, and digital carbon ecosystem. So they're relatively some of the elements currently live on it right now, which is obviously very, very important. When you think enterprises, vehicle passports, certain companies, one is BMW uses, it's pretty important. So when we talk about, you know, enterprises, big companies leveraging this, there's a lot, and we'll talk about them in a bit more detail. But again, as I say, I don't want to go too deep on this because I will probably make you fall asleep. But there is a lot of things here. Again, startups, starting up of companies, yeah. Easy, right? But we do need to talk about, obviously, why I believe it's still undervalued. Obviously, he'll go in the chat, but supply chain management software here. This is just one article I pulled up here. And this is like relatively, well, it's November 24th, 2020. And they're talking about the overall global kind of supply chain for logistics alone is 14.65 billion. That is already, you know, quite a lot more in value versus Vechain. That's just logistics, okay? You got other levels here. Expected growth of 22.15 billion. So that's just one segment alone. Logistics. There's all kinds of other variations, within markets of each niche in terms of stuff like that. So that's kind of important too. But there's going to be a lot more things. As you can see here, 1,000 industry reports, 2,500 market segments, and 60 geographical locations essentially. So when you think about what Vechain will cover, similar, obviously, but on a blockchain, and more than just supply chain, Internet of Things, so even bigger, more prestige, You got to think as well, counterfeit world is a massive thing. Crime, black market sort of dealings essentially aims to solve that. The Vechain aims to solve that, so that's going to be another element of it as well, which is important. So when we talk about partnerships, now this is a relatively old article, I do apologise, it's not the most up to date, but this is some of it, okay? DNV is one. You got Price Waterhouse Cooper, get words out. Walmart China, you got BMW, you got Halia, you know, Republic of Cyprus, you got so many, Reynolds, the lot, right? You've got so many partnerships here. And when we talk about how these kind of work, it's so important when you think about food safety. Obviously, you can see on the screen here. You've got obviously car passports, safety, you know, counterfeit of goods. You know, there's big partnerships with other leading brands as well. You know, when we talk about management of this as data to prove that it is the real thing, Vechain is the one that kind of is leading the charge with that essentially over the crypto sphere, especially when you think cryptocurrency. It's been here a while, it's got all the partnerships, it's in place, like the Ethereum of the supply chain, essentially the big one. Moving on to obviously some market analysis news, relatively new article, and this is what brought me on to doing this video, essentially Vechain. Now this was interesting, obviously it has hit all-time highs in USD prices, and I know people are commenting going, mate, why are you recommending this? Well, remember Kasama? Alright, okay, so moving on, right, there's something that grabbed my eye in this article. Now why is it important? Because we've seen this here now, just to kind of highlight it. Head and Shoulders pattern that is expected to hit 56 cents, which is a huge number. But I also understand it. The BTC pair of this, in my opinion, is still undervalued, and we'll go over it in a minute. But don't get too excited about it, because we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, Bitcoin could make a little bit of a dumpy, but when we talk about potentially that level, that's a big level to kind of aim for. And as you can see here, the way it's going, you know, markets go up essentially. Bull markets go up. So we do need to talk about it. So just be careful in terms of that. I don't believe that that is a typo, because I'm seeing another 660% here. So I'm guessing that is the legitimate kind of number, not a typo. So just making sure. But when we talk about the chart, this is what I feel is somewhat important, right? I still believe that we've got a long way to go in terms of this. Now, this is quite a decent run. It's also been a lot higher as well in the past. This has also been another token. This was VEN back in the day, you know, when I was a little nipper running around in cryptocurrency fields, you know. I know. But when we talk about potential rises, if we're going to go really, really simple and we're looking at a potential rise, let's just go to the top of this wick of previous level. That's 100% alone in BTC. So that could potentially double alone. Okay, so that's quite a big number, especially if Bitcoin stays relatively stable and the market capitalization is kind of on board with that. That will give it a 10 billion market cap alone. But I do feel it's going to go much higher. I think I'm looking here and thinking this is going to be quite a big, steady, linear growth kind of coin as it gets bigger, develops with partnerships, more and more people on board with it, more and more merchants, more and more people using the Vechain technology. It's kind of important to think that. But when we talk about this, it's still undervalued in one element alone, the BTC pair, which is the overall governing price of any asset. But fundamentals alone is pretty strong already. And we're talking about normal price analysis here. If we're looking at the USD pair, yes, it's hit a potential top, so maybe you might want to wait and see what happens in the next few days before jumping in. We'll look for a pullback, and we're going to do that in this video. But overall, it's majorly bullish, right? And what we know with bull markets, hype gets bigger, it builds, it gets more exciting, and people just jump in. But it's all about when you jump in, right? If you're a holder of Vechain, this is probably music to your ears, knowing that it's potentially going to carry on going. But if you're looking for a solid coin to invest, you got to think long term. If you think long term and you're happy to buy dips and dollar cost average in, this is probably a coin for you essentially. But when we're looking overall, let's just say the 3-day chart, we'll go from this dip here. Now, when we talk about past levels, essentially, if we go from this low to maybe this high here, this is what we've kind of had, this big massive run. Yes, it could go much higher, but we want to wait for a pullback. Now, what I'm looking at here, in my opinion, we need to wait for a candle closure. This is a 3-day chart, by the way. So if it does take a dip, obviously have a Fibonacci ready. So this may well subject to change because the candle will close in 11 hours. If it doesn't go any higher than this, we can maybe wait for it to drop down. Now, for me, when we're looking at this could be a perfect level. Previous levels of resistance would now be support, 6 cents, give or take. So just wait and see what happens. You don't have to just jump in, ape in right now. I'm not going to put a load of exclamation marks on my title to show that. But when we talk about pullbacks, this is in the USD pair. If Bitcoin has another rejection, well, this may well happen. This whole level here, which could lead to the next swing to the upside, which could be about 11 cents, give or take. As you can see, markets go up, they pull back. Markets go up, they pull back. Go up, pull back. Go up, pull back. So just be careful. Anyways, today's video is done. Life is good. Things are doing well. For me though, I'd wait, I'd relax, take on board all the information, have a little look. Maybe a solid long-term hold, but got to remember dollar cost averaging. This market is brutal. Just don't get sucked in by it.